Off the coast of somewhere cold and dark, a shape appeared on a sonar screen that nobody was quite prepared to explain. Not a reef, not a geological formation, a hull, intact, resting at depth in near total silence, the way it had been resting for more than 80 years. The story that followed, of drone footage, sealed compartments, and documents allegedly recovered from a lost German submarine, spread across the internet within hours. It carried the language of revelation, of classified findings, of history finally surfacing. But here is what that story left out: the truth about German U-boats, about what actually lies on the ocean floor, and about why these wrecks matter so profoundly. That truth is far more carefully documented, far more legally protected, and far more historically significant than any viral headline has ever suggested. And it begins not with a drone, but with a war. Between 1939 and 1945, the German Navy deployed more than 1,100 U-boats across the Atlantic Ocean. These submarines, primarily the Type XXI, the Type IX, and the later Type XXI, formed the backbone of Germany's naval strategy against Allied shipping. They hunted in coordinated wolf packs. They sank merchant vessels, tankers, and warships across hundreds of thousands of square miles of open ocean. And then, one by one, they were hunted in return. Depth charges, aerial bombardment, mines, equipment failure in brutal cold water. The causes were as varied as the vessels themselves, but the outcome was the same. More than 780 U-boats were lost during the war. In many cases, they sank so quickly that no distress signal was ever transmitted. No wreckage floated. No survivors reached the surface. The submarine simply descended and never came back. What that means, in practical terms, is that the Atlantic Ocean floor holds the remains of hundreds of German submarines, most of them with their crews still inside. These are not abandoned vessels. They are graves. And that distinction matters enormously, legally, archaeologically, and morally. The German Federal Office for Culture and Media formally asserts ownership over German military vessels regardless of where they rest. NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, monitors wrecks in United States waters under sovereign immunity and salvage law. And at the international level, the UNESCO Convention on Underwater Cultural Heritage, adopted in 2001, provides guidelines for the protection of submerged sites, precisely because the ocean floor is not a free access archive. It is a protected record of human history. So when a video circulates claiming that an underwater drone has just penetrated a sealed Nazi submarine and recovered classified documents, and that the footage was immediately classified, the first question any serious researcher asks is not what was inside. The first question is, who authorized the entry? Because the answer, according to every authoritative source currently active in this field, is that no such authorization has been reported. No official expedition, no announced recovery operation, no institutional corroboration. As of early 2026, NOAA's ongoing work in the Atlantic remains focused on non-intrusive mapping, sonar surveys, magnetometer readings, and remote observation using autonomous underwater vehicles. The Institute of Nautical Archaeology, one of the world's leading bodies in underwater excavation science, lists no active U-boat recovery project of this kind. The German naval archives hold no public announcement of a recent classified penetration dive. That silence is not an absence of evidence. In the world of maritime archaeology, silence from official institutions is itself a form of evidence. It tells you that the extraordinary claim being made does not yet have extraordinary proof to support it. But what is true, verifiably, documentably, historically true, is that the wrecks exist, and what they contain, and what they represent is a story of staggering historical weight. Take U-166, sunk in the Gulf of Mexico in 1942 by the United States Navy submarine chaser PC-566. This submarine lay undiscovered for nearly 60 years. In 2001, a survey team working on behalf of a pipeline company found it using side-scan sonar. The wreck sat at approximately 1,500 meters of depth, more than a mile below the surface. Autonomous underwater vehicles were subsequently deployed to survey the site without disturbing it. What the footage showed was a submarine in a remarkable state of preservation for its depth and age. External corrosion was significant. The forward torpedo tubes were visible. Personal equipment from the crew of 52 men remained on and around the wreck. All 52 died when the submarine sank. None of them were ever recovered. Or consider U-352, located off the coast of North Carolina, where it was sunk in 1942. Discovered by sport divers in 1975, it now rests at approximately 35 meters, shallow enough to be a popular diving site. NOAA has conducted formal surveys of U-352, documenting the wreck's condition in detail. What divers find there are the remnants of life aboard a German submarine, boot soles in the sediment, corroded tools, the outline of machinery that once drove a vessel through the North Atlantic at periscope depth. These sites have yielded real information: diesel engines, torpedo components, personal effects. In well-preserved sections of certain hulls, occasional operational logs have survived in recognizable form, but sealed documents with classified content, no U-boat site on record has produced that. The conditions of these wrecks, silt-filled interiors, collapsed bulkheads, decades of chemical degradation from salt water, make the preservation of paper documents in sealed compartments an extraordinarily remote possibility. That is not a dismissal. It is an acknowledgement of what marine archaeologists and conservation scientists actually understand about what water does to material over 80 years. The standard items recovered from U-boat wrecks through legitimate survey operations tell a different kind of story. Not a story of secret documents, a story of human beings. Young men, most of them. The average age of a U-boat crew member in the Second World War was around 21 years. They were mechanics, electricians, navigators, gunners, radio operators. They came from Hamburg and Bremen and Munich and hundreds of other German cities and towns. Many had never seen the ocean before they were assigned to a submarine crew. Life aboard a Type XXI U-boat was extraordinarily confined. The vessel was approximately 67 meters long. It carried between 40 and 52 crew members. There were no private quarters. Officers slept on rotation in bunks that were also used as storage for torpedoes. The air inside recycled through a chemical scrubbing system that was chronically inefficient. When the submarine dove deep to escape detection, the crew rationed their movement, their speech, and their breathing. Silence was survival. The personal effects found near U-boat wrecks, the boot soles, the uniform fragments, the corroded personal tools, carry that story forward across 8 decades. Each object was owned by someone. Each object was placed or dropped or left behind in a moment that the person carrying it did not know would be their last. Marine archaeologists treat these items not as artifacts of enemy history, but as evidence of human lives lived under extraordinary pressure and often ended without warning. That is why the legal protections around these sites are not bureaucratic inconvenience. They are moral commitments. The UNESCO Convention exists because the alternative, an unregulated race to pull whatever can be pulled from whatever wreck can be reached, destroys precisely the context that makes the history meaningful. An artifact removed from a sealed compartment without documentation of its position, its surrounding material, its relationship to the hull and the site as a whole, is an artifact that has lost most of its historical value. It becomes an object without a story, and it cannot be returned to its original context once it has been removed. This is the tension that sits at the center of every sensationalized claim about submarine discoveries. The drama of the headline, sealed documents, classified footage, extraordinary finds, pulls attention in one direction. The reality of how historical preservation actually works pulls in exactly the opposite direction. Real discoveries are slow. They are documented in layers. They involve permits and multi-agency oversight, and years of analysis before a single conclusion is published. The story does not break in a YouTube video, hours after the drone surfaces. There is also the matter of what classified means in this context. When footage from an archaeological or military survey is restricted, it is typically done so through formal governmental or institutional channels. The organizations that would have jurisdiction over a German U-boat, depending on the waters in which it rests, include NOAA, the German government, UNESCO's Underwater Cultural Heritage Unit, and potentially the naval authority of whatever nation's waters the wreck occupies. A classification of footage by any of these bodies would generate a paper trail. It would involve formal legal processes. It would, in most cases, be itself a matter of public record, even if the content of the footage was not. None of that paper trail has surfaced in connection with the claims currently circulating online. The sources behind these claims, when traced, lead consistently to YouTube channels and social media accounts that employ the specific language of urgency and revelation. Just now, breaking. What they found inside was pure horror, language that is optimized for algorithmic engagement, not historical accuracy. Live Science, a reputable science publication, has covered legitimate German submarine discoveries in the past, including a submarine found near Denmark that generated significant attention. But that discovery was historical and documented. It was not a 2026 classified drone penetration. The difficulty is that this kind of content circulates in the same visual and emotional register as legitimate documentary coverage. The images of submarines are real. The history of U-boats is real. The ocean is real, and its depths are genuinely unexplored in vast sections. That combination of real context and fabricated claim is what makes these videos so persistently convincing to viewers who have no reason to doubt that a genuine discovery has been made. And underneath the fabrication, the genuine story is waiting. It has always been waiting. Hundreds of U-boats remain on the ocean floor in various states of preservation. Some are in international waters, where jurisdiction is genuinely ambiguous. Some rest at depths that no current ROV technology can penetrate with precision. Some have never been located at all, their final positions known only approximately, their crews listed simply as lost at sea. The German Naval Archives and the Deutsches U-Boot Museum in Cuxhaven hold records that researchers are still working through. The complete picture of where these submarines went, what they were carrying in their final operational hours, and what the ocean floor has preserved of that moment. That picture is genuinely incomplete. NOAA's ongoing Atlantic mapping program continues to identify anomalies on the seafloor that may correspond to uncharted wrecks. Climate change has introduced new urgency to that work because warming ocean temperatures and shifting chemistry are accelerating the corrosion of steel hulls at depth. Wrecks that have been stable for decades are now showing structural deterioration at faster rates. The window for non-intrusive survey, for documenting what is there before the ocean reclaims it entirely, is narrowing. That is the real race against time in this story, not the drama of a classified drone entering a sealed compartment. The quieter, less cinematically dramatic, but far more consequential work of understanding what is down there before it disappears entirely. There is also a question that legitimate historians and archaeologists have been pressing for years, one that the Type XXI submarine program makes particularly relevant. 118 Type XXI boats were produced by Germany during the war. They were technologically advanced, significantly ahead of the Allied submarines of the same period, with greater range, faster recharge capacity, and superior underwater endurance. Many were captured and dismantled after Germany's surrender. Some were deliberately scuttled by their own crews. Others simply vanished. The full accounting of the Type XXI fleet is not complete. That incompleteness is not a conspiracy. It is a documentation problem common to the end of any large-scale military conflict. Records were burned, lost, falsified, or simply never created in the chaos of Germany's final weeks. What it means for maritime archaeologists is that wrecks are occasionally found that do not immediately match any entry in the known loss records. Identifying a submarine with certainty, matching it to a specific vessel, a specific mission, a specific crew, requires painstaking cross-referencing of serial numbers, equipment configurations, and geographic position. That process takes months or years. It is not announced in a breaking news format. What the ocean floor holds, verified, documented, and protected by international law, is history on a scale that dwarfs any single claim of sealed documents or classified footage. It holds the remains of more than 1,000 vessels from a single war alone. It holds the evidence of how those vessels were built, how they were crewed, how they were lost, and what the human cost of submarine warfare actually looked like at the level of individual lives. It holds, in corroded steel and sediment, the weight of decisions made by governments and military commanders and 21-year-old sailors who had no more information than the depth gauge in front of them. That history does not require embellishment. It does not need a sealed compartment or a classified reel of footage to be profound. It needs the careful, patient, legally structured work of researchers who understand that what lies on the ocean floor is irreplaceable, and that the way it is handled now will determine whether it survives long enough to be fully understood. The wreck is real. The history is real. The questions are genuine, and some of them remain genuinely open. But the next time a headline tells you that footage has been classified within hours of a drone entering a sealed submarine compartment, ask the question that the headline never does. Who authorized the dive, and where is the documentation? Because in maritime archaeology, the answer to that question is never a mystery. It is always a paper trail, and when the paper trail is missing, what you are left with is not a classified discovery. You are left with the ocean, which keeps its secrets better than any government ever has, and always on its own terms.